Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WillCast. It's the podcast with the potentially most creative name in the world. That's right. Thank you for tuning in, subscribing, commenting, all that good stuff. I really appreciate that. And speaking of commenting, on this podcast, we do daily questions. Not daily, we do them whenever there's a podcast out. We do questions of the day. That's what I meant to say. And the question of the day is, what is your favorite podcast? I would love to hear about that. Let me know in the comment section down below. Personally, I like the Joe Rogan Experience and Impulsive. Those are the two podcasts that I listen to. Two very different podcasts, one might say, but pretty good. I really like them, and I like that they're guest-based. And that's what I've taken a lot of inspiration from, which is, it's kind of ironic me saying that right now because this is a solo episode. I'm just here all by myself in my room, in my small apartment, talking to a microphone. But the general idea of this podcast is it is guest-based. I figured it would just be kind of appropriate to do a solo episode as the first episode. And by the way, I know it says episode 2, so you might be wondering, what were you talking about? This is not episode 1, it says episode 2. I'll get to that in a little bit. I thought it would just be appropriate to have a solo episode to kind of go into what WillCast is, what it is going to be, what it was when it didn't exist, all that good stuff, you know? So here I am, talking to you, hitting you up, and I appreciate you stopping by. I'm super excited for this. You have no idea. I guess it's also appropriate to give a brief introduction to who I am. My name is Patrick Will. I'm a TikToker, and I've done a bit of YouTube. I haven't really seen a lot of success with that. I have primarily done sketches and skits on TikTok. That's what I'm quote-unquote known for, even though I'm not big in the space at all. But that's what I've been focused on a lot. And I have, for such a long time, really, really wanted to start a podcast. Like, for years. For at least 5 years, I would say. I think the first podcast that I ever heard was Rhett and Link's Ear Biscuits. And when I heard that, when I saw that podcast, listened to it, I was fascinated by the medium or the media of a podcast, the long format, sitting down, having a conversation with someone. And I was super into it. And ever since then, I wanted to start a podcast. The reason I have been afraid to start this. I have to be honest. The reason I'm starting now, I should have started sooner. You could go back and forth saying shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever. I wanted to have started sooner, but I was afraid. You know, everyone and their grandma has a friggin' podcast nowadays. It's incredible. Everyone's doing podcasts. Brands, social media influencers, normal people, quote unquote. Everyone's having podcasts nowadays. It's crazy, man. But it's popular. It's super fun. I love listening to podcasts. But that was one of the reasons why I was afraid to start, because, man, what all these thoughts that go through your head. What if I don't make it? What if nobody's gonna care about the podcast? And I just had to tell myself, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because this is something I really wanted to do. And let me just say right off the bat, the next many episodes that you will see of WillCast are pre-recorded. They are pre-recorded before I'm talking to you right now. So I already know that I love doing this, as weird as it may sound, because to you this is episode 1 or 2, whatever. But I already know I love doing this. I've had so much fun so far, talking to a lot of cool people. And the people that I'm gonna have on here are people that are kind of related to my interests and fascinations. So I'm quite lucky, I feel like, because I'm fascinated by so many things. Primarily, the people I've talked to so far have been fitness people, specifically within calisthenics, which is body weight training, working out with your own body weight, which is a training form or style that I have trained for a little over 6 years now. So obviously that I'm super fascinated about that. I've had talks with someone who a smaller NFT creator, the Stoned Being, a really cool guy, really cool art that he does, and I've talked to an animator. So it's not tied down to any one subject. Uh, it can be whatever. Really, it can be whatever. If there's anything you guys want to see or hear, anybody you want me to talk to on the podcast, I would love to look into it, because again, I'm fascinated about so many things. I think the world is so gosh darn fascinating. Damn, man. Every aspect of life is incredible. It sounds stupid, but it is. It really is when you stop to think about it. Which is, yeah, why I feel like the guest portfolio on this podcast is going to be so diverse, and really really excited to get to talk to more people. And man, yeah, I could talk about that for hours, but I'm not going to. The idea of this podcast is it's going to be raw and unedited, pretty much 99%. I mean, unless a guest wants me to cut out something that they've said on the podcast, I'll do that, of course. But besides that, I want it to be just a laid back, chill conversations with these people. And something that I personally want to use this podcast for is to be more myself. And I know that this is not all about me at all. That's why this podcast is guest based. This is not about me. This is about anything and everything and everyone and no one at the same time, you know? But I do want to take this opportunity to just say this. This is going to be an opportunity for me to try to be more myself. And while I am not necessarily fake or not myself in all the other content that I've done on YouTube or on TikTok, on other social media, obviously, you know, with TikTok, I've done skits or sketches. I still don't know what you call those things, which are scripted videos. So those are acting. Those are me acting. Those aren't necessarily me being myself. The YouTube videos and my vlogs, I feel like are more closely to my real personality and myself. But those are still kind of exaggerated versions of me. And when I sit down and I have these conversations with these awesome people on this podcast, I'm really myself. And I love that, because that's something that I haven't 100% been on social media so far. So this is, again, I hate to make this about myself, but this is a great opportunity for me to practice that, because that I'll be the first to admit I have a hard time being myself all the time, which is super important. Man, is that important. Yeah, again, I could talk for hours about that. Don't think I'm going to. Let's talk about that in another episode, I guess. The podcasts are going to be about 20 minutes in length in the beginning. So kind of shorter format podcast. My logic for that was kind of a marketing in some way. I feel like the viewers are more likely to give a brand new podcast a chance if it's a shorter podcast, if it's about 20 minutes long, rather than an hour long podcast. Does that make sense? That's at least the logic that I'm going with. I think people are more likely to give a brand new podcast a chance if it's only 20 minutes rather than 2 hours, you know? So that's the logic behind that. Also, I feel like it's easier to get bigger personalities on the podcast. At least that's kind of what I have found. I was really surprised about how many awesome people have said yes to come on the podcast so far. Like, the reason I am shooting a bunch of these episodes in advance is because I actually thought I was going to spend months trying to find just a handful of people that wanted to come on my podcast. So I didn't want it to be something that was only released like once a month. That just didn't seem right. So, but that was what I thought was going to happen if I didn't collect a bunch of episodes in advance. You know what I'm saying? So I was surprised how many awesome people said yes to come on my podcast. I'm over the moon. I have pre-recorded way more episodes than I thought I was going to be. By the way, the next episode of WillCast starts January, the first real quote-unquote episode. January 4th is my plan so far. Things may change. I shouldn't have said that because obviously things change all the time. Gosh darn it. This stays in. It's all raw and unedited. That's how it goes. What was I saying? Yeah, super surprised about how many freaking cool people wanted to come on my podcast and talk to me. I was super humbled about that. Gosh damn it, man, I've had fun. Yeah, that's why I pre-recorded a bunch of episodes in advance, because I wasn't sure that anybody wanted to come on. But they did. My plan is for the podcast to be slightly longer formatted as we go along. Who knows, maybe one day the episodes will be an hour long. That's kind of the max I'm thinking so far. More than that seems a bit too much. But who knows, things change all the time, as I said. Did I mention, I'm just coming back to this, did I even talk about why this episode is called episode 2 and not episode 1? I don't think I did. So here's a fun story. I was gonna say, for those of you who don't know, but I assume everyone would know this. In 2020, I did a joke, kind of an April Fool's video. I posted a video April 1st on my YouTube channel, Patrick Will, which was this podcast video with Marshmallow in it. Hold on. Oh my goodness, I have burps. I'm sorry, I just ate lunch. I apologize for this. Yeah, this podcast video was with Marshmallow as the guest. That was the joke, because Marshmallow, the DJ, his whole thing is his identity is hidden and he doesn't talk in interviews, etc. So I thought it would be genius to pretend that I had Marshmallow on the podcast, because he doesn't talk, so he would use like a soundboard, and maybe that would be somehow believable as an April Fool's joke somehow. This video is bad. This video is so bad. I rarely ever get embarrassed about videos that I have made in the past, but this video it's almost there. It's almost to the point where I'm embarrassed about this video, which is why it is so perfect for me to just embrace it. This happened. And by the way, it was called WillCast. It was called Marshmallow Reveals His Secret, WillCast episode 1, I think. So I'm not lying when I say I have planned this podcast for so long. You can go back. It's almost a little more than 1.5 years ago that this video was posted. You can see the logo is the same, and the name even, WillCast, the most creative name in the world, of course. It was made back then, so I have had this podcast planned for so long. I've just been too much of a pussy to start, to be honest. Oh my goodness, did I just swear? Wow, cringe. Yeah, so that's why this episode is called episode 2. Going to embrace that video happened. That is technically, officially, even though it's fake, it is the first episode of WillCast. I don't know what to say. It's gonna stay. That's how it's gonna be. That's going to be the beginning of WillCast. And this is kind of going to be the second beginning, I guess. The official beginning, more so. Yeah. Man, I've been rambling for a while. It's surprisingly hard to have a conversation with yourself. I've been at it for 15 minutes now. It's surprisingly hard to just keep talking. Don't mind if I just grab a little bit of water real quick. I bet you could even hear that. I have this massive water bottle. It's in my apartment right now. The water is really bad. The tap water. I think there's a lot of lime in it. What a weird way. What a weird word for that, right? Lime. Like, I. What's up with all these American words that are all the same? You know what I'm saying? I'm rambling. I have the tap water is really bad in my apartment, so I have to buy bottled water, which sucks because obviously tap water is a lot cheaper and better for the environment. But it has really made me sick. Like every time I've been drinking the tap water in my apartment, my I've had stomach aches and it tastes really weird too. It's really weird because I think in a lot of places around the world, you can't even drink tap water like normally. So that kind of goes to show how privileged I am complaining about me not having the ability to drink tap water. I hate how privileged I am. I hate it. Gosh darn it. All right. Oh man, yeah. I've been talking for a while. I think this might be where we're gonna end it. The podcast is on Twitter as well. Just felt like plugging that. I want to get the podcast to a ton of different social media, also different podcast platforms like Spotify, iTunes. That's the plan. Oh my goodness, I still have the burps from that lunch. That's my plan in the future. To have it on more social media, be more available. Right now, it's going to be exclusive to YouTube. Well, the podcast itself, I'm still gonna have clips, shorts posted to TikTok all over the place. Man, I'm plugging a lot. I am wow, shameless promotion all over the place here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you made it so far, wow, I commend you. It's not easy listening to me talk this much. Luckily, the next couple of episodes, they're gonna be guest based, as I just said, and the guests are gonna be talking a lot more, so you won't have to listen to me as much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you stopping by, and again, I'm so excited for this podcast. This feels nice. I'm enjoying it so far. I've had a good time. Again, the viewer question of today, ladies and gentlemen, which podcast is your favorite? Brownie points if you say WillCast. I'd love to hear your thoughts on different podcasts in the comment section. All right, that's going to do it. Peace.